Let's speak to Ablekuma South MP, Okoe Vanderpuije, a former mayor of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, on the president's appointment of MMDCEs by President John Dramani Mahama. Thank you for joining us, Honorable.
Thank you.
I hope you're well.
By the grace of God.
We thank God.
Yes.
What is your take on the caliber of individuals appointed to represent the president as MMDCEs?
Well, let me take this opportunity to greet my constituents who I know will be watching. And thank you for the opportunity to be with you this evening. You know, the process is a very tedious one. There are competent people on the team who look at various capacities and abilities of all the aspirants. Mm-hmm. And finally, they will come up with recommendations to the president. And the president will make the final decision. So where we are at this stage, I think the president has considered all factors and have decided that these are my people, that I want them to work at the local level. The responsibility that we have as citizens is to be prepared to work with them and give them the chance. They have taken the charges, or they will take the charges from the president, come down to the local level, and our responsibility is to work with them. Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you followed some of the agitations that have happened with some of these individuals who have been appointed. Do you think the objections that they're making are valid?
Well, you know, these are situations where people have supporters, people have preferred candidates, mm-hmm. and whenever the decision is made, it is not one that will satisfy everybody. You understand? Yeah. It's not one that will. I mean, every jurisdiction that people have been nominated, mm-hmm. there was never one candidate. There was always at least 2, 3, 4, in some cases 4 candidates. You know, so when the final decision is made, by all means, there are some members of the same party who will say, oh, no, we don't agree to this, or we don't go. Mm. So all politics is local, and people would say things according to the jurisdiction or the constituency they find themselves. Right. You know, so this is nothing unusual, you know.
In the case of Tema, where they say E.B. Bright is not an indigent, is that a valid enough reason?
Yeah, well, you see, yes, that is what the people are saying. And they are the local people. And they said, we live in the locality, and we say this person is not one of us. Mm. You see? So you have to listen to them. But I'm sure the committee considered all these factors before coming up with the nomination. You understand? Yeah. So it's hard for me to say they don't have a valid concern. But I'm sure they listened to all this before making that determination. Mm-hmm. So we'll live to see where the appeal will go. But it's not an easy process. Right. It's not. You would never, even if you were doing only 2 constituencies and you come up with nominations and nobody will say anything. You know, because after the nomination has been made, now you have to go to the assembly members. And the assembly members will have to vote. It is your hope to be able to garner 100% votes. But that process is not easy. Mm. You understand? So, but we shall overcome. This is not the first time. We shall overcome. At the end, all shall be well for the party and for the work that we have at hand.
Let's talk about your tenure as mayor. Some of your policies that you made, for instance, the mass demolition exercise met pushbacks. Do you believe that such an approach is still necessary for the city of Accra today?
Well, if you talk about mass demolition, every demolition that I led in the city of Accra had a reason behind it. When you think of maybe the High Street, beach side, the art center,
Yeah.
demolition, for example, it was to stop cholera at that time. It was at a high end. People were dying, and medical officers traced it to that community. So we had to go in there, and they said, Mr. Vanderpuije, we need to, clear the place and stop this, what is happening there. And you know, people were defecating clearly when you went in there. And people were buying wache, eating bangkun and things, clearly there. We had to clear that to eliminate it. And when we did it, the outbreak came down, and for about 4 or 5 years, Accra was okay. Until recently, 2 years, a couple of years ago, when it's back again. The next demolition that I can think of is Circle.
Yes.
Massive demolition. And that demolition was very necessary because I received a call from the US. They said, look, we are about to announce a very important decision against Ghana. And it's because of what is happening at Circle with young ladies and, you know, human rights activities, abusive and all that. If Accra does not do anything by 24 hours, we will make a decision. And that will affect the economy of Ghana. Why should we sit down and allow a group of people to do something to tarnish our image to the extent that it will cause us economic hardships? So we had to eliminate it. And when we did that, they reversed that decision. You know? But you see, at the time, I couldn't come out and tell the public that this is what is going on.
Exactly.
But I have a responsibility to make sure I do what is good in the interest of the majority of the people. Then you think about Circle under the overhead tension.
Yeah.
We had to come there and clear the area. High tension. How can you have people constructing under the high tension? Unbelievable.
Right.
We had to come in and clear it.
Honorable Vanderpuije, let's talk about key priorities for these new MMDCEs once they're approved and how government can help enhance their effectiveness.
The leader of our party campaigned on resetting Ghana. The people believed in the resetting agenda. So all appointees of the government are to focus on the resetting agenda. Wherever we find ourselves, we should reset this country. Ghanaians experienced for 8 years a condition in this state that were not making room for progress. Economically, you know, job-wise, and people lost hope in the previous administration. That is why they voted for change. So when these nominees have been voted in and confirmed, they have to focus on resetting and opening opportunities for development, resetting and opening opportunities for growth, resetting and opening opportunities to ensure that Ghanaians, when they look back, will say, this is why we brought in His Excellency John Dramani Mahama and the new administration. So they have work to do. It's not going to be easy. For example, if I sit down as former mayor of Accra and I drive through Accra and I see what is going on, you know, they have work to do. You know, we have to clean up this city.
Right.
We have to ensure that the people buy into what needs to be done. We have to improve our education. We have to look at our hospitals. We have to look at our roads. We have to look at abandoned projects. You know, I have schools in my constituency that I cut sword when I was mayor of Accra before I left office, and they are standing there.
Idle, they no progress.
No progress.
Right.
I have roads in my constituency, you know. Nobody did anything until the last quarter of the year.
Right.
2 months to election that they came in there. And the roads are the same. Dusty roads, they have become dusty roads.
Honorable, on a recent visit that you made to Kalibu Teaching Hospital, you asked the health workers to speak up on things that, you know, their facilities need. Did these issues arise from the Tamale Teaching Hospital experience?
Oh, no. I had been scheduled to chair the review of the Kalibu management and staff performance for 2024. It was to take place about 3 weeks ago, but they had to reschedule it, and it happened today. But the very thing happening in Tamale are the concerns that I had going to speak to them 3 weeks ago.
Right.
You know, I'm MP for Ablekuma South. Kalibu is in Ablekuma South. I listen to the people, the patients who come to Kalibu. They tell me a lot. Workers in Kalibu tell me a lot. Doctors and nurses tell me a lot about things that is happening in Kalibu. You know, so I have a first-hand experience of what goes on in Kalibu, and I communicate a lot to the professionals and the patients as well. And I played a big role as an advocate for Kalibu and my Mamplubi hospital. Okay. So I had that on my mind, that if parents, for example, will complain that, oh, I took my daughter to the hospital, there was no bed for her, something to be concerned about. If you will go to the hospital and a patient visiting the hospital will be there and he's lying on the floor, you know, these are matters when patients cannot buy their drugs. You know, they tell you, oh, I was given a bill, but they said NHIS is not covered.
Yeah.
You know, things, matters of that. And I'm saying that we also have to hear, as much as we hear the patients, we should also hear the professionals. What are their challenges? And I'm asking the professionals to be bold to speak up. Because in my leadership role in this country, I've come to realize that people sometimes do not want to speak for fear of whatever could happen to them.
Right.
So they don't speak. If you talk to teachers, they say, oh, no. People are afraid to speak up. So I was telling them, look, we have a government under the leadership of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. He said, reset. He cannot do it alone. His appointees cannot do it alone. All of us have to get involved as Ghanaians.
Right.
We have to take the opportunity to get involved in the resetting of this country. And they, the professionals in the medical field, they are there. The minister will come and go. The president will come and go. But you, the professionals, will be there forever. You understand? That is your professional job. So engage. Engage with the minister. Engage with the Minister for Finance. All the way to the presidency. Let's engage. Let us talk. And let us see how we can do what is best. I look forward to the day when Kalibu, for example, will have all what it takes to be able to meet all of our medical challenges. So that to the extent that we don't have to fly outside this country. To
seek medical care.
You know, for medical care. And is this something we can do? I believe we can do it. You know, so I was challenging the health professionals.
To speak
and I
up.
said, look, speak up. If you have needs, let the government know that we have these needs.
Right.
And we want it to be undertaken, because otherwise we cannot do our jobs. And I'm telling them that I know His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. Look at the work that he did in the medical field, in the first administration in this country. The record is there for everybody to see. So I said, if you engage him, I'm sure he will listen to you and we can do more. Because when I look at the presentation of what they were doing behind closed doors in the hospitals, we have to uphold the hands of our medical doctors. They are doing great things.
Honorable, thank you so much. Let's